you confused when I'm talking to people? Okay. Hi. Oh, hello. So needy. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Amelia and today I wanted to talk to you about what it's like to adopt a special needs pet. So, come here. This is Tofu and she is missing the leg right here. Say hi, baby. All right, she's unhappy with me. Hi. So back in 2017, I lived in Arizona and I wanted to adopt a cat. Originally, I went in looking for an older cat because I know, please don't knock over my camera. Looking for, are you having fun? Looking for an older cat to give kind of a second life to give them a new home for the remainder of their days. However, when I was in the shelter, this beautiful little cat started meowing at me and she let me pet her. And so I talked to the volunteers and wanted to know more about her. And they were like, oh my God, she let her pet you? Like, she never lets anyone touch her. And that's when I heard her story. So she had been brought into the shelter about 2 weeks before I met her. And she was brought in with a crushed leg and they attempted to bind it so it could heal, but she kept ripping the bandages off and no one wanted to foster her because she was really agitated by the bandages and she was apparently pretty aggressive, but she let me pet her. She did hiss at me once, but that was when she put pressure on her injured leg. She still had all of her legs when I met her for the first time. So I talked to the staff and they said, you know, her leg is beyond saving at this point because we just couldn't set it. No one would foster her. So what they said is they're going to remove her leg. They're going to spay her and I would be able to adopt her without an adoption fee. It's kind of like, well, she's broken, so we'll just give her to you for free. And so I did agree to adopt her. Now, don't get me wrong, I am never going to ever regret adopting Tofu. I love her, even though she's kind of a bitch sometimes. But I adopted her at a point in my life that was in a lot of transition and change, and I'm glad it worked out, but I think maybe I should have been in a more stable place in my life when I adopted her. At that time, I had just graduated grad school. I was supposed to move back to my home state of New York, which I do live in now, but I was supposed to move back to New York, and then I ended up getting an internship at a museum, and I was living at a friend's house, and I was just in this place where I have wanted a cat for years. Like, my family grew up with a lot of pets, and I didn't have any pets, and I was lonely. I needed that companionship. And so I adopted a cat. Y'all. Again, I'm really glad it worked out. I love her. She loves me. But I think there's a lot of things that you're not prepared for when adopting a cat or any pet that's been through like a really traumatic experience. I had looked on YouTube for people talking about what it was like to adopt or to have a cat with only 3 legs, and all of that information was really useful, but there wasn't a lot about adopting a pet that's been through trauma. And so that's kind of where I wanted to talk about today. So when I first got her, she had just woken up out of surgery and they like sent me home with her. The shelter I got her from was the community shelter. So they had like a lot of animals and they really didn't have room to take care of animals that had already been adopted. So it was pretty much like, outpatient surgery. She's missing a leg now. So it was scary for her, scary for me. So I brought her home to the house I was staying at, and she immediately hid under the couch and stayed there all night. I slept on the couch, kept an eye on her all night, like didn't really sleep. Luckily it was a long weekend. I adopted her on like Memorial Day weekend, I think, of that year. So it was like late May. That first night was very stressful for both of us. She was in a new place and I was like, oh my God, this cat is hiding under the couch. I can't get her cone on, because she jumped out of the box and immediately went under the bed, no cone. And I'm like, ah, fuck. So I kept a really close eye on her because I didn't want her irritating her incision, because it was along the whole side of her body, because they removed not just her leg, but her shoulder blade. So that was all just flat. And it had like a row of staples. But that first night, she was actually pretty drugged up, honestly, and probably in a lot of pain and managing it okay. The next morning, she did come out. Like, we had a little bit of interactions, but then I noticed that one of her staples was loose, and I was really, really concerned because I didn't want the incision to open up again, and because that could cause infection, that could cause a lot of issues. So I called one of the vets that they recommended, and because that vet had a partnership with the place I rescued her from, it was actually like a free checkup visit. The issue is, when you live in a southwestern state like Arizona, especially, it's very common to have to drive 30 minutes to get to some place just still within your city limits. Like, you're not even going to a suburb. So it was quite a long ride to get her to the vet. And she got there freaking out, not happy, but they were like pretty chill about it because she just had major surgery. And so they checked her out. Luckily, everything was okay. She actually scared the crap out of us, because I was talking to the vet and Tofu was in her box on the floor. She was just chilling there, and I was on one side of the table. The vet was on the other side of the table. All of a sudden, she launches herself up onto the table. This is like a day after surgery. She's not used to only having 3 legs. The vet and I both were like, holy shit. So, I mean, that immediately let me know that this cat was going to be trouble. 3 legs, 4 legs, whatever. But overall, she was okay. The bad news is that she just shit everywhere. Oh man, I guess she was like nervous. It was post-surgery. She took a big old crap all over the vet's office. Luckily, I didn't have to clean that one up. But, you know, we go on the ride home, and not even like 2 minutes from the apartment, I mean, I was turning onto the street, and all of a sudden I smell this like awful, horrible smell. And I'm like, oh shit, she crapped herself again. And you know, it wasn't one of those simple like, oh, it's like a little turd. No, it was like nasty, like baby diarrhea nasty. So I have to get this cat into the bathroom, who doesn't want to be touched because she's just been through a traumatic experience. And I have to clean her up because she's been stepping and walking in it in just the 2 minutes it was in there. And so she's covered in shit, and I have to like wash her off. And I don't know if you've ever met a cat, but most cats do not like water. So that was a struggle in and of itself. And that was really a bonding through adversity moment for us. So luckily, after that, things kind of calmed down a little. She became very affectionate towards me very quickly in those first few weeks. She would sit on my chest and on my lap, but mostly that's because I think she felt really safe with me, because I was the one who took her out of the shelter. I was the one who was feeding her and giving her a place to do her business and kind of making sure she was okay. I think the first few months that we were together was very different than what kind of the rest of my time with Tofu is as of right now. She was pretty chill. She didn't play a lot. She was mostly healing. It took a really long time for her incision to heal. And in fact, we had to go back to the vet because there was like a nub on her scar that every time she was grooming herself, she would run into and start biting at it, which is bad. And actually, we had to take her to the vet, like shave it off, get it clean. Not happy about that. In the same way that she would rip off her bandages when according to the shelter, when she first was taken in with the broken leg, she hated the cone. And I mean hated. She would find a way to get out of that damn thing. If I did any tighter, she would have suffocated. So what I ended up doing is, she was very tiny. Like, she's still a tiny cat, but she was very tiny. So I took an old sock that didn't really have a lot of elastic in it, and then I made her a little like sweater out of it. And that stopped her from picking at the scar until it was fully healed, smoothed over. Haven't had a problem since. So that's kind of the part of the story that's about her actual like surgery, recovery, getting her. However, there's a lot of other stuff that I've had to learn. I've had Tofu for over 3 years now, and we're still building a relationship. We've gone through a lot together. We've lived in 4 different places. We've driven across the country, which I could do a whole video on what it's like to drive across the country with a cat who fucking hates being in the car. But there's some things that you kind of learn about a cat with trauma. So I'm pretty sure that she injured her leg involving a garbage truck. She isn't really bothered by loud noises, like fireworks don't bother her. However, anytime she hears, even like loud trucks kind of make her like perk up, but she doesn't seem scared. But anytime a garbage truck comes by, she just freaks out. It's like specifically like the beeping sound that garbage trucks makes, and then the clanging of either like the dumpster or the bins. She hates them, she freaks out. So I'm pretty sure she was injured due to a garbage truck. So, you know, I do make sure to keep an eye on her on garbage day. Stay close to her. Luckily, you know, we're in the time of the crisis, the pandemic. So I'm at home, but I mean, I'm usually at home in the mornings anyway. Like any human who's been through a traumatic experience, you really have to think about and look out for their triggers. Like, she's genuinely triggered in some sense by a garbage truck. Can you not? Like any human who's been through a traumatic experience, there are going to be triggers. And for her, it's the garbage truck. And that's something to be aware of, because she freaks out. And I think that anyone who has a pet who's been through trauma has to, you know, look out for those things that upset them. Another thing that I've really had to learn with having a cat who's been through traumatic experiences is how to interact with her. Now, I've rescued her. We've built this very serious bond because of the fact that I did take her out of that terrible place, took her out of a situation which was causing her a lot of pain, and gave her a new home. So she trusts me. Like, she's my cat. Like, I feel comfortable picking her up even when she's like cranky. She does hiss sometimes, even at me. She can get a little like nibbly. She's never broken my skin. Like, when she's going too far, when we're playing, like, I can stop her and she understands that she's going too far. But she's playing. So another thing you have to learn, I think, especially with cats who've been through, that you haven't raised, is how to pet them. Like, what they like. That sounds weird, but what they like. Tofu really likes her head scrubbed. She likes it when I rub her eyes while they're closed. She likes the side of her mouth scrubbed. She's okay with me petting her full body, but she gets really overstimulated very easily, which causes her to react in a more defensive way. When you give a cat a full body stroke, it can really overstimulate them and kind of freak them out and put their like, oh, is it time to like attack or play into effect. And that's something I had to learn. The cats my family had, we actually had most of our cats from kittens. The first cat I really remember, she was supposedly spayed. And then one day I gave birth to 4 kittens in my parents' bed. So apparently that one didn't take. And so then we had all of those cats. And then my parents got cats in 2015. This is my life. And then my parents got their current cats in 2015 from a family friend who opened their door one day, and a pregnant stray walked in and was like, I live here now. Here's a bunch of kittens. So we've raised most of our cats from kittenhood. And when you raise cats like that, you can really get them used to like a lot of physical attention, like petting and different kinds of playing. But you know, when you adopt a cat, especially an older cat, I adopted her when she was 2. I mean, that's not that old, but she's a cat. She's like an adult cat. And, you know, she's kind of set in her ways. She knows that she doesn't like full body pets from a lot of people. The weirdest thing I think about Tofu is, I know this video stopped being about like cats and animals with trauma and like how to deal with that, and more about like my cat's fucking weird, and this is just, you know, not every cat's the same. She loves to play. Tofu loves to play. She's fucking playing right now and it's super annoying. She loves to play. She loves to play with toys. And she loves to play near me. But she doesn't want me to play with her. And I think that does fall into like a trust thing about being a stray. She doesn't want me touching her toys, but she wants to bring me her toys and show me that, look, I have a toy and I'm gonna play with it next to you. But don't touch it. It's my toy. No touching. Like, she'll bring me her toy and I'm like, oh, you want me to throw it? And I'll like throw it. And then she looks at me like, bitch, the fuck? I was using that. And then the final thing that I think was really important for me to learn with Tofu is socializing with outside entities. She hates other cats. In the first real apartment I had with her, there was a cat whose owner lived below me, and the cat was allowed like in the little area. It was well trained to just stay in the area of our apartments, and it would come up to like look in the window, and Tofu just would flip the fuck out. She would ram herself full body into the window. It was like crazy. So we are a 1-cat household, always and forever. No other cats. She's queen of the jungle, lone wolf, lone tiger. And then the other thing that's interesting socially speaking is how she interacts with other people. She loves people. She's not one of those cats who like runs away as soon as you walk in the door. Like, especially if someone comes in, she like runs up and meows at them and like rubs up against them. But she's also hesitant about them actually touching her. Especially when I'm out of town and my friend Megan, love you Megan, watches her, she can get a little hissy and a little upset and won't let her touch her. But she does really like people, and she'll sit next to you and she'll sit near you. And I think she knows if you're allergic to cats, because if you're allergic to cats, she will absolutely try to be all up in your business. She's short-haired. She doesn't really shed a lot. I sweep regularly. I vacuum sometimes. But she doesn't shed a lot, so people with allergies actually tend to do really well with her. But she really likes it if you're allergic to cats. So if you're allergic to cats but want to hang out with them, come meet Tofu. All this is safe, and 3 years on, we're still learning about living together and being with each other and functioning. Handicap wise, she's fine. Honestly, I can't imagine what a terror she would be with multiple legs. She has no problems jumping. She'll jump on top of my damn fridge. The first day I moved in this apartment, I thought I lost her because she jumped behind the stove, because we moved in January and it was cold, and she's like, I'm an Arizona bitch, like it's too cold in upstate New York. And then she fucking hid behind the stove for 3 hours and I had a breakdown. It was not fun. Anyway, she's fine. Oh, one other thing that I have noticed, and I don't know if this is like a shelter cat thing or because she's missing her arm, she's really weird about the litter box. I read a lot of places that when cats are missing a limb, they don't want an enclosed litter box because they find it difficult to navigate. But she like scratches around the walls and the sides of the litter box, and I think that's because she can't use one of her front legs to kind of bury her business. She doesn't really bury it because she can't balance like that. And I'll see her like working the muscles on that side of her arm, even though she doesn't have even a shoulder blade. But she uses it fine. I've never had a problem with her not using the litter box. So that's nice. That's really lucky. There's a lot of cats who come from shelters who have a hard time using the litter box. I'm not sure the psychology there. I'm not a fucking expert. But I'm very lucky. But she is weird about it because she can't really bury it. And I think that's a little bit of anxiety for her. But I keep it clean, so it's not too much of a problem. But yeah, you know, it's still a learning experience. Her behavior has definitely changed a lot since I first got her. She's also gained a lot of weight, which is really good. She's very tiny still. She's only like 7 pounds. I'll show her to you again. Hi. 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 Look at her. She's so tiny. Say hi. See, you can see kind of this is where her leg used to be. She doesn't like it. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I guess comment, like, subscribe, I guess whatever, YouTube, internet. I just live here. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.